When I'm asked about how the book came to be honest with you, I never really intended to write this book. I had an ambition to write a different book that I'm still working on in parallel on my free time. Informed leadership is essentially the brainchild of my discipline around being data oriented. So I was always interested in better understanding what were the contributing factors helping my clients achieve the success and the results they were looking for. And then, at the same time, looking at what were the obstacles getting in the way. And little by little, I started putting it together like a thousand-piece puzzle and started to notice what clusters were starting to form to create frameworks. And so one of the initial frameworks that I noticed was the three Ps. And the three P stands for purpose, performance, and prosperity. And it took a lot of iteration, but it finally landed on that. And essentially, why we landed on the three Ps is when these three elements are present and they're committed to, it's very likely that that client organization or those leaders themselves and the ways that they show up at work, their interactions with stakeholders, clients, direct reports are more likely to lead to favorable outcomes. And so what we're looking at is this. When purpose is aligned to, and meaning your leadership is embodying your company's purpose, downstream, what it shows is there's alignment. Now, if you look at the company website, there's a purpose and a vision and values, but you see your leadership not modeling that, it's going to create a schism, a misalignment. So anything around misalignment is not going to improve your conditions. So when purpose is aligned, then we move on to the next feature, which is performance. And performance essentially is the thing that drives success. If performance is not held to a high standard, and what I mean by that is this. If certain people get away with bad behavior or are not held accountable, what happens is throughout the organization, what permeates is this understanding of an unwritten set of rules that are allowed to exist. And so certain people are treated one way while the rest are treated this way. When that happens, that again also creates misalignment. If an organization is truly committed to its success and its longevity and sustainability in the marketplace, they have to get performance right, which means you have to hold the standard to performance high, accountability high, but also support the engines that also improve performance, whether that's learning and development, whether that's line manager direct report coaching. Suffice to say, when that's not there and it's misaligned, it creates havoc. When it is aligned, now you have both purpose and performance aligned, which enables organizational success. This last feature, prosperity, is really the tricky piece because the days of working for an organization, working 20, 30 years, and then retiring with that gold watch, they're over. And I'm not mentioning it to say that we should go back to that place, but today the world of work is transient. People can pick up and move to a competitor at the drop of a dime, which then means what is that new social contract that we have to have in place to allow for prosperity to be achieved? And so if as an organization you are mercenary in your approach to talent, if you're mercenary in your approach to executive compensation, you're going to get a mercenary approach, a mercenary embodiment amongst your leadership team, which will then get in the way of some of the other things we just talked about. Because if you are a mercenary, you will not be aligned to purpose. You will not be aligned to performance. You will be aligned to a very specific outcome. And outcomes and performance are not actually the same thing. They can be driven, they may meet in the middle because a specific number could be hit and it matches on two sides. Doesn't necessarily mean the spirit of the work is actually aligned. So when we look at prosperity, what we're talking about is what is that point at which your workforce, the organization, your shareholders, institutional shareholders, investors It's mutually beneficial. It doesn't necessarily need to be one to one, but there has to be skin in the game for all parties involved. Otherwise, if that piece of prosperity isn't addressed, then it's never addressed. And if prosperity is not addressed, then you're going to have issues with employee engagement, loyalty, retention. And if you have issues with that, you're going to have issues with productivity. And if you're going to have issues with productivity, it's going to impact performance. So if there's a schism between any of these elements, there's a schism between all of them. But when they're aligned for organizational success. And I talk about that in the book.